Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So, breaking news: Jermell Charlo has vacated the IBF title. He was scheduled, or at least he had been mandated to fight. Jay, let me get his name because I'm going to screw it up anyway. But I'm going to try my best. Bakhram Murtazaliev. He had been mandated to face this gentleman, and he has decided that he is not going to face him, and so he vacated the belt. So now Jermell is only the WBA and the WBC champion. We know that the IBF is now vacant, and the WBO is held by Tim Tszyu. So Jay, it's interesting. You know, he went from being a unified champion just a few months ago, or an undisputed champion at 154 just a few months ago, to now just being a champion of two titles. It's interesting. I don't know where Jermell Charlo goes from here. He got the biggest payday of his career, facing Canelo Alvarez. I can understand why he might not want to face this gentleman that is currently ranked number one by the IBF. It makes sense to me why he would not want to face him, because at this point, once you face somebody like Canelo Alvarez and you've gotten that big paycheck, you want to get into the ring with some of the biggest and best opponents. Now, the biggest and best opponent for Jermell Charlo would have been Terrence Crawford, with Terrence Crawford moving up to 154 in the event that Errol Spence faces Terrence Crawford at 154. Terrence Crawford could have moved up, faced maybe Tim Tszyu, and then finally faced Jermell Charlo for undisputed. Now, Crawford has said that he really doesn't have any interest in facing Jermell Charlo anymore, which I can understand that as well. Number one, I don't think it's necessarily going to yield the type of purse that Terrence Crawford would be interested in. And then it's not going to necessarily give him the level of stature either, because we saw Jermell not put on the best performance against Canelo Alvarez. So I don't think there's going to be a high level of interest in that fight at the moment. So it's interesting that Jermell, I just don't know where Mel goes from here. He's not going to get Crawford, it doesn't feel like, just unless Crawford decides that, you know what, never mind. You know, I would like to go ahead and fight Jermell Charlo because we just have a grudge match. But I don't think that's going to do. I don't think it's going to do the numbers that Terrence Crawford would hope for it to do in order to get the level of paycheck that he wants. Maybe he might face a Tim Tszyu. I think that could be an interesting fight for Jermell Charlo. That, you know, because Tim Tszyu has still wanted that energy. He still has that energy for Jermell Charlo. He says he wants to fight him regardless of what titles he has. So I would be interested in seeing that fight, and maybe that's something that could happen. But I don't know where he goes from here, Jay. It's like he went from being way up here, undisputed, the opportunity to face Canelo Alvarez, to not having a whole lot of options. Man, I tell you, just one win or one bad performance can put you in a position where it's not very favorable to you versus where you were before. So, Jay, like, what's your thoughts on this? The IBF has not stripped, because he vacated the title, but Jermell Charlo has vacated the IBF title. The IBF has been in the news a lot lately.
Yeah, well, let's let you know, IBF has been trying to be consistent with what they do with their rules. Now, as far as him, you know, deciding to vacate instead of facing this, the Russian Bakhram, that's his decision on that. I think once he's gotten a payday from Canelo, I think he only wants I think he wants paydays. He wasn't gonna get a payday from defending there. Now, if I'm Bud's already stated he doesn't really have an interest in it, nor should he. He's not gonna do nothing for Bud. People say Bud's chasing money or legacy. He gets neither by facing Jermell Charlo at this point in time. He's not undisputed. He only has two of the four belts, so, and it's not that much of a grudge where it's gonna be worth Bud's time and money. You know, at this time he's 36.
I rather see Bud versus Tim Tszyu.
I think that'll help build his legacy as far as just a legacy fight than Mel, because Mel tainted his own legacy with his performance or lack thereof against Canelo. So Bud is just I'm not fighting Mel right now. It builds no value to me. It does nothing for me, money wise or legacy wise. Now it makes it interesting what's going to happen with the IBF. Their rankings typically come out towards the end of the month, I believe. So toward the end of this month here, or beginning of next month, we'll see how that new rankings will be changing. See if anyone else is in that ranking, such as a Spence, such as a Bud Crawford, you know, because we see Spence is in the WBC and he's ranked number 3. He's not in the IBF just yet. You know, neither is Crawford. So we'll see what happens. See what happens when the new rankings come out, and we'll see how that shifts the land of the 154-pound division. We'll also see if they're just going to give Bakhram the belt, or he's going to have to fight someone for the vacant title since it's been vacated. You know, that would make the most sense if it's available. because he's just been sitting for a while. Because Jermell last defended his title in May of last year. He won it. What did they say on here? He won the title September 26th of 2020, and the mandatory came out March 14th of this year. But we know he was hurt, and then he went to fight the undisputed versus Canelo, which he lost in September. So he last defended May 14, 2022. So IBF like, hey, give me that belt if you ain't gonna defend it. Mel vacated it. So now we're gonna see what Bakhram Murtazaliev does next. The next person up for him, now this might be a good chance for an Erickson Lubin, who's number 3. Good win against Jesus Ramos. That might be a good chance for him to get a title. So that'll be interesting to see if they order that, or if they go with the number 2, who is Jack Colque. I haven't really seen him. Don't know much about him that much. I know about Lubin, Jesus Ramos, and whatnot. So they got some movement going in the IBF. We'll see once those new rankings come out next month, or into this month or next month, and then we'll be able to have a better idea who he may face for that vacated title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see. I just, I don't think, what was it? It was Marvin Hagler that mentioned that once you get comfortable with those silk sheets. And, Mel got an amazing payday there. And it sounds like, based off what Maul is saying, that he will be getting a payday on Cinco de Mayo if he gets past Jose Benavidez. I personally feel like the Charlo twins are almost done.
Same.
I think that they spent their time in boxing, and I'm not knocking this in terms of like wanting to get that big payday. I mean, you should always want to get to the pinnacle of the sport as well as get to the pinnacle of your payday. So I'm not knocking that whatsoever. But I think at this point, I think they're about solidifying their financial futures, and I think for the most part they got one foot out the door in regards to just boxing. So I could definitely see, Charlo being interested in the Spence versus Crawford winner. I don't see either one of those guys necessarily being interested in fighting him. I think if it were me, I would go after Tim Tszyu. I think there's an opportunity there that's been stewing now, that's been marinating now for a while. And I think people may be interested in seeing how he sizes up against Tim Tszyu. So I can see that being a fight that could materialize. But outside of that, he doesn't have any real big fight options. 160, who would be a big fight for him? No one. He can't go back to 68 because of the way that he looked. So I think he should go for Tim Tszyu and then probably hang him up, man. I think it's about over. Jay, anything else you want to share with the people?
Nah, he go Tim Tszyu, get his belt back. Then they have 3 out of the 4 again. Then he can fight for undisputed one more fight. 154. He stays at 154.
It'll depend on who ends up winning the IBF title, and would he want to fight to become undisputed twice in the same weight class? I don't think so.
Yeah.
You guys tell us what you think in the comment section in regards to this. Yeah, if the money's right, but who would it be against? It would need to be against somebody credible. Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, M Sports Media, and we are